The story begins in the year 1982, 4 years after the horrifying events that ended with the death of the serial killer known as the Grabber. For most people, the nightmare is over, but for one family, it is only beginning again. We are introduced to Gwen Blake, the younger sister of Finney Blake. Gwen has always had strange abilities. Ever since childhood, she has experienced vivid dreams that feel more like memories than imagination. One night, Gwen wakes up screaming from a terrifying vision. In her dream, she sees a place she has never visited before, a summer camp buried in snow known as Alpine Lake Camp. Inside the dream, Gwen witnesses brutal murders taking place decades earlier in the year 1957. The fear is overwhelming, and the pain feels real. Then something even stranger happens. Gwen hears the ringing of a phone. When she answers it, the voice on the other end belongs to her mother, Hope, who has been dead for years. Hope tells Gwen that she had the same dreams back in 1957 when the murders at Alpine Lake Camp first occurred. She warns Gwen that the past has not been laid to rest. Shaken, Gwen tells her brother Finney everything. Finney has spent years trying to rebuild his life after surviving the Grabber, but the mention of the ringing phone instantly brings his trauma rushing back. Despite his fear, Finney believes Gwen. He knows better than anyone that the dead can still speak through the phone. Soon after, they are joined by Ernesto, the younger brother of Robin Arellano, one of the boys murdered by the Grabber. Ernesto believes that if the nightmares have returned, they are connected to the unfinished suffering of the victims. Together, the three decide to travel to Alpine Lake Camp to uncover the truth behind Gwen's visions. As they arrive at the remote camp, a massive blizzard rolls in without warning. Heavy snow traps them there, cutting off all roads and communication with the outside world. They meet the small group already staying at the camp. Armando, the strict camp supervisor, his niece Mustang, and 2 camp employees, Kenneth and Barbara. With no way to leave, everyone agrees to wait out the storm. But that night, something goes terribly wrong. Finney hears the sound of a payphone ringing outside the abandoned camp building, a phone that should not be working. Against his instincts, Finney answers the phone. The voice on the other end makes his blood run cold. It is the Grabber. Speaking from beyond death, the Grabber blames Finney for everything, for forcing him to kill his own brother and for ending his life. He promises revenge. Moments later, Gwen collapses into a violent dream. Inside the dream world, the Grabber attacks her viciously. As he hurts her in the dream, the injuries begin appearing on her body in real life. Finney, Ernesto, and Mustang manage to wake Gwen just in time, saving her life. Realizing the danger, the group gathers inside the camp's old chapel. Armando finally reveals the truth. Long ago, he, Hope, and the Grabber all knew each other at Alpine Lake Camp. They realize the Grabber's spirit is tied to the unresolved murders from 1957. As long as the victims remain unfound, his power over the dream world will continue. Gwen's visions point them toward one location, Lake Maru, the frozen lake beside the camp. That night, Gwen dreams of the Grabber again. This time, he reveals something far more disturbing. Hope did not commit suicide. The Grabber murdered her and staged her death to make it look self-inflicted. Enraged, Gwen fights back inside the dream. She realizes her psychic abilities are growing stronger, strong enough to hurt him. She wakes up screaming, but alive. The next morning, Finney and Gwen's father, Terrence, arrives at the camp using a snowplow. He followed them despite the deadly storm. Gwen confronts both Terrence and Finney about their addictions, how alcohol and drugs have become a way to avoid dealing with their trauma. Moved by her words, the family decides to stay and finish what began decades ago. Joined by Kenneth and Barbara, the group heads out onto the frozen surface of Lake Maru. As they search beneath the ice, Gwen quietly prays to Jesus, asking for protection and strength. Exhausted, Gwen falls asleep again, and the Grabber launches his final attack. At the same time, he manifests in the real world, attempting to kill Finney, Terrence, and the others. Inside the dream, Gwen dives deeper into the frozen lake and finally sees them, the bodies of the murdered boys. The moment she finds them, the grabber begins to lose his power. The spirits of the dead boys rise and surround him. Finney joins the fight, striking the grabber as the spirits drag him screaming beneath the frozen lake. The ice cracks, then seals shut. The grabber is finally destroyed. The blizzard clears the next morning and peace returns to the camp. As Gwen, Finney, and Ernesto prepare to leave, the payphone rings one last time. Gwen answers. It is Hope. She tells Gwen she is proud of her and that she is finally at peace. The line goes dead. The nightmare has ended. Weeks later, life slowly returns to normal. Finney begins healing. Terrence confronts his past, and Gwen's dreams finally grow quiet. But one thing is clear. The black phone will never ring again. The spirits have been laid to rest, and evil has been silenced forever. With that, the story of Black Phone 2 comes to an end. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more dark and mysterious stories.